Within the Black community, I've heard this from a lot of clients, and I felt this way, that there's this guilt that if I am doing well, I'm leaving somebody behind. That if I'm focusing on myself, I'm neglecting my community, or I'm neglecting my family and friends. And that's not a good thing. And that's really challenging because you want to show gratitude for your relationships, but also to keep yourself stuck because other people are stuck. It doesn't get you to where you want to be. So that's
Welcome to Sensitive Stories. This episode is for educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for treatment with a mental health or medical professional. Let's dive in.
Well, Noni, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here again.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me back. I'm really happy that we get to chat again and maybe have a little different of a conversation this time.
Me too. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into the work that you're doing now. And so last time we started off with your HSP discovery story, which is what we usually start with. But I want to dive a little bit deeper this time and look at a different part of your experience. And that connects to the work that you're doing now. So I'm curious if you're open to sharing your experience growing up as a sensitive Black teen, what that was like for you.
Yeah, I was just at my old high school today,
Mhm.
so I definitely have a lot of memories that have flooded back. I remember feeling very misunderstood. I felt like what was interesting was that I was such an emotional person, and sensory things were just so like prevalent in my mind, like the weather, or the day of the week, or the holiday season. Like everything was just super big for me. And I would get a lot of comments from people, even sometimes within like my inner circle, that I needed to just let it go. I shouldn't linger on things. I was being too sensitive. I was personalizing things a lot. So I felt like this was an issue for me. I didn't know how to correct it at the time, or if I needed to, but I think I was very worried that my sensitivity was going to get in the way of future success as I became an adult. And I tried really hard to not show that side of myself, but it just always felt like I was putting on like a costume that didn't feel comfortable. And yeah, it was really hard. I just felt like there was always something wrong that I needed to like let go of, but I just didn't know how to do that, and nobody told me how to do it.
Right, you're just getting told just to get over it, let it go. That's not really helpful. Like, what do you do with
Mhm.
that? You can't change how your nervous system is responding to your environment, how you're feeling. And, it makes sense that, well, okay, I'm doomed to feel this way forever. Can't change it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I just thought like, oh my gosh, college and getting a job and future relationships as an adult. Like, how am I going to do this? Because I'm such a sensitive person. And I was just told that was a weakness, or that was going
Mm.
to get in the way of me being able to progress as a person. So I was just very worried about my future. And I think other people were worried too. Like, well, if she can't let things go, or if she's always holding on to her emotions, how is she going to be able to move forward in life? So I internalized that a lot growing up as a teen, of like, there's something wrong with me and I need to
Yeah.
figure this out. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences later on.
Mm-hmm. Right. You think this is just going to persist and life is going to get harder because you hear how hard
Mhm.
college is and how hard it is to find a job and, be an
Mhm.
adult. It's like, well, how am I supposed to do all of that when I feel this way? And,
Mhm.
other people are implying or maybe being explicit that, oh, this is a problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
You can't be this sensitive and be in the world. That's pretty terrifying, right? Thinking like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm I'm gonna struggle.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you just said that, yeah, that's what it felt like. Like, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to
Yeah.
be really hard for me to obtain the goals that I want for
Mm-hmm.
myself because of who I am.
Yeah. I imagine that's what leads you then. I'm curious to hear how you got through that, but I think we'll get into that through our conversation. But I imagine that's a big reason why you decided to work with teen girls yourself. You understand where they're coming from. I'm curious to hear more about that. What led you to this work?
Yeah, it kind of happened by accident in a
Mm-hmm.
weird way. I was doing a lot of like my internships with teenagers. I was getting paired with a lot of teen girls of color, especially a lot of Black teens. And I didn't have any experience before, like learning how to do psychotherapy and counseling with teenagers,
Right.
but I just remember they would open up so fast to me. And I think because they were talking to someone that looked similar to them, had a similar
Mm,
identity and similar experiences as a sensitive person, that they felt it was a safe enough like space and environment to be more
mhm,
vulnerable. And the more I was talking to them, I realized like, wow, a lot of these things I say to these girls I didn't hear growing up. Like that was just such a surreal experience of like, oh, this was what I wish I heard when I
yeah.
was a teen, or I wish someone was more patient with me.
Mm,
And I found myself being very patient with these girls. And the more I was patient, the more I could see it would just inspire them to start doing certain things because they knew, like, okay, like someone believes in me, I can do this stuff. And that was like a real turning point where I was like, oh, I really wish I had me when I was younger to say,
mm,
yeah, I believe in you, you can do it, you can handle it. That
mm.
positive like messaging just it means a lot to the girls I work with, and I know it definitely would have mean a lot to me when I was younger.
Yeah, it's like you're speaking to your younger self through them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, how powerful that is to, instead of someone joining in your despair, to say, no, there's another way, right? It could actually be okay.
Mm.
I mean, that encouragement goes a long way. First to be seen, but then to be encouraged. Like,
Hmm.
I'm curious, as you're giving them those positive messages, what starts to shift? Is there more hope? Is there more possibility? Do they feel, more worthy? I'm just curious what happens when you hear something positive versus something negative.
Mm. It feels like there's, from what I'm seeing with the girls I work with, there's more hope
Yeah.
of, oh, it's not going to be a struggle, or, oh, wait, like I've already done a lot of amazing things. That's something I've noticed too. And I focus on perfectionism and anxiety with Black teen girls. And a lot of the times when they come to me, they're like, I haven't accomplished anything great, or I haven't really struggled in my life. And I have to remind them, like, you have been through things, you have accomplished things, but maybe in your mind, because it happened a little differently for you, you don't think it's worthy of any kind of recognition or praise. Um, and it's just interesting when they start to reflect on, oh, like I have been able to do things for myself, or I know who I am as a person. I just never told anyone. It seems like it gives a lot of them hope of like, I know who I am, I know what I want, and as long as I have that encouragement to pursue it, I can do it.
Mm,
And that's really beautiful to me to see. It's just a girl who starts to really believe in her own power of like, oh
mm.
wait, I'm not like an extrovert, or I'm not like, other kids in my school, but I have a lot I can do, and there's a lot I can offer other people.
Oh, the power of the reframe.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, because in those,
Yeah.
and nothing's changing, right? You're still sensitive, you're still potentially introverted, you're still getting overwhelmed sometimes or having, um, those big feelings. But it's just
Hmm.
looking at it through a different lens, saying like, oh, actually, I am capable.
Yeah.
There are things here I can celebrate about myself.
Hmm.
And it's not all bad. I mean, that is such a powerful realization to have.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And I think it's interesting because I also work with parents, with Black parents, and I can tell there's a lot of projection happening of like,
Mm,
I know what it's like to be a young Black girl, and growing up, it's very challenging. People don't believe in you. So you have to have this tough skin because otherwise, if you
yeah.
don't have it, you can't move forward. And that creates what it seems like a lot of perfectionism within the family of like, we need to show
Mm,
up in a certain way to be successful, and then the kids feel guilty of like, well, I'm not like that. And I know what that's like too, that I'm not this tough skin person. So getting guidance around how can you actually maneuver through life without having this armor on is just a lot of unlearning. So what you said about the reframing makes so
mm.
much sense. It's a lot of reframing of like, what does success mean when you're a
Yeah.
highly sensitive person? That could be different for you.
Yeah, yeah, unlearning is it. Just kind of pulling away those messages. And last time we talked, you talked about, this permission you give yourself to live a softer life.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and it makes sense that when you have to have that tough skin on, that you get stuck in perfectionism. What other choices do you have, or do you think that you have? And a lot of
mhm,
times that's very real, right? You have to
mhm,
be tough. I think you had shared before that you can find those pockets of softness.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, the pockets of softness, I think, is what I definitely feel as a teenager kind of protected me a lot.
Mm.
That I knew that I was soft. Like I love listening to like movie soundtracks. I love children's shows. I just like soft, fun, playful things. And I
Yeah.
think that actually protected me from certain things that teens go through. I didn't always feel this need to prove something to other people. It was like, well, I like this and this makes me feel safe. So I'm gonna stick with this.
Mm.
Um, so that was my thing. But then sometimes people are like, well, you're not really like a teenager because teens are supposed to want to take a lot of risk and do some weird stuff. And I was just like, that just doesn't feel like me. Like I
Yeah.
can't, I can't do it.
Yeah, you just let yourself be who you are, your own version
Mhm.
of a teenager. But you're right, there's that pressure because the teenage years are usually pretty chaotic and
Mhm.
you're taking risks and you're, pushing limits, but there's some way that you realize, oh, I can do this my own way. I'm just
Mhm.
how did you get there? Was it your parents or just something in yourself
Mhm.
that you were able to give
Um,
yourself that permission?
I think part of it was from my parents. My parents are in the film and television world. And so I grew up with art. Like we always went to art museums, we always went to the movies. I love drawing and painting, and I love making my own movies like on my computer when I was a kid. And I like making my own songs. I think being around a creative family made it normal to want to engage with the arts or things that were just more like somatic, things I could
Hmm.
feel in my body. And so that was great. It was always great being around parents who loved art because I know kids whose parents are more scientific or into financial work, and I'm like, I have no idea what that's like. Seems like a different world where
Mhm.
everything's about facts. But yeah, I think my parents were the ones that really supported me in art. But then also I would just like maybe I would just see like a character in a movie, like another teenager was like writing in a journal, or they would do something with their friends or like some kind of like role playing and stuff. And I would take inspiration from that of
Mm.
like, oh, I want to try that for myself and see how that feels. So yeah, I was always super observant. I was always watching my environment and anything that I thought was interesting, I tried it for myself. So I would find little pockets of things that I liked.
Hmm, I love that. Yeah, on your Instagram, I love it. You share different characters that you relate to as a sensitive person. It's like, yes, there's, I love that because those are sometimes the only way that you might see yourself or a part of your
Mm,
temperament if you don't come from a family who's a little more permission giving, who's more soft
mm,
or creative. Um, yeah,
mm.
there's those ways to find it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Actually, when you were just saying about the characters, my mom introduced me to this Japanese filmmaker named Hayao Miyazaki.
Mm.
And he always had these girls that were just really sensitive. They're very emotional, but they were also very ambitious. They would have their own businesses or they were very protective of their family. Like they could get a lot done even when they felt so much emotionally.
Mm.
And I would see these characters and I was like, that feels like me. Like I
Yeah,
have all these goals, I have all these dreams, and I'm very emotional because I'm so passionate about things. So I felt like they understood, even though they weren't real people,
right.
but there was something that resonated for me about seeing them in those films. Like that feels like me. Like I can identify with that.
Yeah, it's like here's someone that's embodying both sensitivity and passion, ambition at the same
Mhm.
time. And I love that reframe that maybe it's not, well, you're emotional, but also you're passionate, right? That's such a positive spin on it, which is true as sensitive
Mhm.
people. It's like, oh, I mean, how beautiful of your mom to pass that along to you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how she heard about this Japanese director, but I mean, she loves films from other
Hmm.
countries. So it was just, it felt like such a gift that she was like, hey, there's this world of characters that are not like, the stereotypical like Disney princesses or other things in Western culture that I would see. And it was just like, it just blew my mind. And I was so emotional watching these
Mm.
movies.
Oh, like you felt seen.
Yeah, yeah, I felt really seen. It was just like I
Yeah.
would always cry at the end of every every
Oh,
film he made because it just spoke to me so much.
it's so powerful
Mhm.
to see, what's possible for a sensitive person and
Yeah.
just to be more dynamic, especially if you're getting those external pressures to put yourself in this little box, be tough, be strong, whatever it is. It's like, no, I can be
Mhm.
gooey on the inside.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing because yeah, I think that's not I don't know if I guess in Western culture we don't see women and girls in that way, particularly like Black women and girls. It's like
Sure.
very like masculine characters that
Yes.
I would see on TV and I was like, that's not me. I don't
Right.
identify with someone who's very aggressive and they would always be portrayed as like violent or just
Right.
not empathic and I was like, that's not me at all. I don't identify with that.
Right. It's so limiting. And, I would say probably all the Black HSPs I've talked to feel stuck in that box of, oh, I can only be this one way. I can only be
Mm-hmm.
strong with that tough skin. It's like, no, there's more to me than that.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely resonate. That resonates for me. That makes a lot of sense.
And yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, no, I'm strong and I'm ambitious, but I'm also soft and
Hmm.
emotional and complex. I mean, how
Hmm.
reductive that is to have that be the only example. So
Right.
you had to kind of look outside of, what's available here. Okay, what other characters can I resonate with that actually speak to me more? I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
would be great if that, well, I'm not sure if this is true, but I would imagine I would love to see that with someone that looks like me, but
Mm-hmm.
this is maybe the next best thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And what before we get into talking about anxiety and perfectionism more, I want to something that came up as you were talking. I'm wondering, you said, you had creative, artistic parents who were, there's a lot of room to be yourself. But if you're working with a teenager, a black girl who maybe comes from a family that is more, kind of financial, focused on academics or sports, and
Mhm.
not appreciating the arts or emotion, what do you say to that parent who has a sensitive black girl and maybe doesn't
Mhm.
understand them? Is there something that you would say to maybe just give them some perspective or some reassurance? Just
Mm.
if anything comes to mind.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I usually do tell parents that naturally a lot of HSPs are drawn to the arts. And even if I've had some kids that they still like more of the sciences, but there's this like human element they love about it of like, I
Yeah.
want to help find cures for diseases to help
Right.
other people. And making sure that parents know that their child's idea of a successful career or life, it can look different. It's still successful for them. Um, but yeah, it can come in a different form. And sometimes I also just tell people about different examples of, people, Black women in different fields that I've seen and their own success journey. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of unlearning of being patient with your kid and saying, okay, like maybe I don't have all the answers because I know that's a protective thing. You want to make sure your kid is safe. Um, but I also reminding parents that these kids have really strong intuition. So if they feel pulled to something, it's for a reason
Hmm.
and that to let them actually explore it before you cut them off and go, oh wait, that might
Yeah.
not work out for you. Because yeah, I've always felt that when I was a teen too, that there were things I wanted to explore, but then when I was told, well, maybe that won't be a successful path, it was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just give that up. So
Right.
yeah, just allowing them to explore and also like trusting if they're not attached that they'll find something else.
Hmm. Yeah, it's such a good reminder that, even as teenagers, sensitive kids have strong intuition.
Mhm. Mhm.
and they have that passion, that commitment, and they may change their mind a few times, but I mean, they are going to really put their all into it, and it may look different than what you hoped as a parent or what you understand as a non-HSP human,
Mhm.
but to trust them. What a good reminder, right? They know
Yeah,
themselves so well.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I remind parents and kids, because sometimes I work with them together in a space, that it's about working as a team. Like
Yeah.
that's the point whenever, like whether they're looking at colleges or they're looking at career options, that the point is that they work together as a team so that the teenager knows, okay, like I can go explore because my parent is going to support me in that exploration process. Instead of this, what I tend to see a lot when I first work with kids is this anxiety of I can't disappoint mom and dad or whoever else is in the family because they're expecting this, so I need to move the way that they're hoping I will. But yeah, I remind it's kind of like couples therapy in a weird way
Yeah.
of like we're on the same team. Like that's the point, is to make sure that the kid feels they can go explore what they're interested in.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, it's just like a couple, right? The more that you're trusted and that you're working
Mhm.
together, more is possible.
Right.
And when that child feels safe to explore and to follow their passions, they're going to be so much more successful than trying to fight something that isn't a good fit.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I when I was just answering your question before, I was thinking about when I was at college as an undergrad and I was studying nutrition, and I thought, oh, I really should be in the science because I was told that was like the best type of career, was to be in a STEM type of career.
Yep.
And I got to the end of college and I was like, I'm just not feeling it. And I realized like maybe it's not because I'm not good at this. I'm just not interested. I was really interested in psychology. And I told my dad, like, isn't this like the worst thing that I came through 4 years of school and I don't want to do nutrition? And he was like, that's okay. It's okay
Oh,
if you change
yeah.
your mind. And I was like, what? Like, it's just like, no, like, don't you say like, oh, that's a disappointment. But no, he was like, no, I felt that way too. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, so it was like hearing a message like that of like, it's okay if you change your mind. It's okay if you don't want to commit to this anymore. It sounds like you know what you want. And it really helped. I was just like, okay, yeah, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
this is for me anymore.
Yeah, it's such a good reminder to just like push away those messages that say you have to do XYZ. It's like, well, what if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested? What if it's not a fit? I
Mm-hmm.
had a very similar experience. I studied plant biology because I thought there's a steady path. I
Mm-hmm.
always circle all the psychology courses, like longing for them. But I thought, no, you need to be practical. But I never used that degree because I wasn't interested in it. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and now I'm going to go
Mm.
back to grad school and actually study psychology. Um,
Yes.
it's such a good reminder, though, that, follow your gut. Even if it doesn't make
Mm.
sense right away or it doesn't seem like the practical choice, it
Mm.
might actually be.
Yeah, that sticks out for me. When you said I need to be practical, that's what I thought too. Like, no,
Yeah.
I have to take organic chemistry and
Yes.
biochem because like people understand those jobs or
Right.
understand like nutrition. I can work at a hospital. Like, yeah,
Yep.
let's be practical. Let's not be like fantastical with
Yep.
helping people. But I really felt pulled to the psychology classes at school. And I was like, comes so naturally to me. This is so easy.
Yeah.
And it was like my intuition was like, yeah, you should check this out. You should look at psychology. But then the other part of not wanting to disappoint people was like, no, that's
Mm-hmm.
not a reasonable path. You need to stick with science.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like that do the practical choice, the typical route, and it's like, well, no, that's just trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It's
Mhm.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, I think what you're sharing reminds me that there's all these layers of messaging, from
Mm.
yourself to your family to the outside world, and you could get hooked into one.
Mm.
It's like, well, if we just pause and check in with what's really important, and when you checked in with your dad, he's like, "Yeah, that's totally okay." It's like,
Mhm.
"Oh,
Mhm.
right. It's fine." But we get
Yeah.
stuck.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, it's confusing because
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think, especially as an HSP, the fear of upsetting someone or someone being disappointed, that was just, for me, like one of the worst feelings ever. And I think even as an adult, I still feel that way. And so that was where my brain was as a younger person was, I need to make sure everybody's okay with me.
Yep.
I need to be able to maintain these relationships with friends, family, teachers. And it really was blocking out my intuitive side because I was
Mhm.
so tapped into what other people were feeling. And when I would get a message of like, it's not about what other people want, it's about what you want. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, who am I doing this for again? Like, it was like a check-in, like, wait, no, it's about me. Like, this is my path, this is my life.
Yeah.
So I would hear that sometimes from people, and it was like, oh yeah, I forgot like what I was doing this for, who I was doing
Yeah.
this for.
I know it's so easy to get locked in, and the intuition is just inaccessible. It's like, okay, let's slow it
Hmm.
down and check in and see what's really true. You're
Hmm.
talking about, I think, anxiety that bubbles up during those years, and I'm wondering, how, if you are a teen girl, a black teen girl, maybe a black sensitive teen girl,
Hmm.
how it just it seems impossible to unhook from anxiety. I'm just
Hmm.
wondering, how can you do that
Yeah.
when you're at that
I
stage?
think, yeah, I think the support system is so important in that moment. And I've seen, even if they're not getting it from home or from friends, when they come to therapy and they talk to me, it's like, okay, somebody is listening to me about all these anxious feelings that I'm having, and I get to like unfold this anxiety so I can start to really hear my own self. So that's, I just have seen that really just changes the trajectory for a lot of girls I work with, that they have someone who's just going to listen, not give a lot of criticism and judgment of like, you should do this or you should focus on this, because that's mostly what they hear. And that just feeds into the anxiety of, I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not working hard enough, I'm not making people happy enough. And coming into a space where it's like, you're not here to take care of me, I'm here to take care of you. And that, I just think as a black teen HSP, that's like, it's kind of mind blowing because you're just always thinking, I have to take care of someone else. It's not about me, it's about other people. And therapy at first is a little strange because, like, oh, this feels kind of selfish. I've heard kids say that, like, it's
Mhm.
selfish to talk about yourself. Because they're not used to that. They're not used to just speaking for themselves instead of
Mhm.
thinking about what someone else needs from them.
Yeah, you give them a space to just set everything down, even if it's uncomfortable at
Mhm.
first. Eventually, they realize, oh, this is a space I can be myself. I can let it all out. I can
Mhm.
actually receive something back. I'm not needing to worry about everyone else all the time.
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about being so tough, keeping that exterior on. Yeah, it's a place
Mhm.
that you can receive that support. And I appreciate that you said, it doesn't have to come from everywhere. Even one person, a therapist,
Mhm.
could make a difference.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, I think even for me, my own therapy, it's helped so much, but just the therapeutic relationship of someone else taking care of you and you not feeling you have to go above and beyond or
Yeah.
overstep your own boundaries to keep people connected to you is just, there's so much unlearning that comes with that. And I always ask the kids, like, what do you want? What are your favorite classes? Like, what do you dream about? So they're always like, well, I don't really think about like this stuff, or I don't tell anyone what I want, because that might not be what they want. And just
Mm.
remembering that it's about centering them in life. And it's a beautiful thing to want to center other people until you start to lose yourself in other people's journeys and you forget that it's not up to you to figure out what everybody else wants.
That's powerful. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I can actually think about myself
Mhm.
even a little bit in this one space for this moment.
Mhm.
Mm, what a change.
Yeah, it's just like eye-opening. Like, yeah, and it takes a while too, I've noticed. It takes it's like sometimes a few years just for a teen to go, oh, okay, it's about me, it's about my safety, it's about my goals, my dreams, my future. That can it can take a while. And sometimes when I meet a kid, it's in the middle of a lot of trauma, like especially a lot of relationship trauma, and working through that of the grief of, I thought I did everything for this person and then
Yeah.
it all fell apart. It is really
Mm.
painful for teens. So it's just reminding them like you could be the most amazing, wonderful person, and also maybe you can't fix everybody's stuff, and that's okay too.
Yeah, that's hard to sit with though. Thinking, I worked so hard, I gave so much. Why
Hmm.
didn't this work out?
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
hard. And
Hmm.
the perfect time to be able to lean on someone else and have them be
Hmm.
held up. But it's a long process. I appreciate that you said it takes years because it really does. There's a lot of,
Hmm.
just to go back to that word unlearning, there's a lot of unlearning to do.
Yeah, yeah, there's so much I'm learning. And I also want to add that I think within the Black community, I've heard this from a lot of clients, and I felt this way, that there's this guilt that if I am doing well, I'm leaving somebody behind. That if I'm focusing on myself, I'm neglecting my community, or I'm neglecting my family and friends. And that's not a good thing. And that's really challenging because you want to show gratitude for your relationships, but also to keep yourself stuck because other people are stuck. It doesn't get you to where you want to be. So that's always like this interesting um like balance of how do I show up for other people, but I still show up for myself at the same time.
Stakes are high to take care of
Hmm.
yourself and maybe set down that responsibility for a little while.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that guilt as a sensitive person is high, but then if you're a black sensitive person, it's even higher and you're compounding it.
Hmm.
I mean, is it just being able to model it in therapy, experience it in therapy? Is that enough, or is there more that you need to do to be able to say, it's okay to take care of me?
Mm. I think modeling it in therapy that's one way to do it. And I've also been feeling just in my professional work that individual therapy, sometimes I'm feeling like it's not hitting different parts of a teenager. And I always love doing group work because I just
Hmm.
find so much strength in like multiple people working together to figure something out. So I've been investigating more of that. Like, how do I bring mothers and daughters together so they can have these conversations about what are the expectations in the
Hmm.
relationships? Um, but yeah, like it's individual work is great. And then I also realize like communal effort and the strength of the community is just so important. And I think because Black girls are always expected to grow up faster and to
Hmm.
be responsible more quickly than other teenagers, that you can get left behind as a teen girl. Like you're gonna have to figure that out for
Right.
yourself. And it's like, well, they're still kids. Like they're still
Yes.
trying to understand and develop and mature, so they still need a lot of support too.
Hmm.
And kids feel a lot of shame about asking for help of like, well, I should know how to take care of myself at a young age. And I remind them like, yeah, it's okay if you don't. Like you're still really young, trying to figure it out, and reminding them it's okay if you need more of your community to help you.
Yeah, and it makes sense that, being able to bring that into a group setting so you get to work out those group dynamics
Mhm.
in a therapeutic setting where you feel safe and supported and there's room to make mistakes and to talk it through, kind of
Mhm.
like try it on, right? And then be able to take it
Mhm.
out. Because
Mhm.
you need that community support and you need to be able to lean on multiple people and figure out how to
Mhm.
communicate in a group. It makes
Mhm.
sense while you're gravitating towards that work. It's so
Mhm.
powerful and so
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Mhm.
As you're talking about, this kind of burden to do it all on your own, to take care of everybody else. I wonder if I've
Mhm.
heard you talk about this concept of superwoman syndrome. And
Mhm.
I'm wondering if we're getting into that realm, would that be what that is?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know that that's been researched a lot,
Hmm.
especially recently about Black women feeling they need to lift up the community and their families, and just like be the caretaker for a lot of people. And I mean, it's interesting. I think watching older Black women who've done that for so long and seeing just so much resentment
Mm.
and anger of like nobody took care of me when I needed support, or I was so busy lifting up other people that nobody said, "Hey, like how is she doing, or how are you doing?" It's like, that's not even a thought. It's like, no, you're just supposed to be there to hold other people up, like kind of like you're the foundation of a whole house, and that's a lot
Mm.
of pressure. So it's just interesting that it's like it's not being normalized anymore. I think for younger generations to be that superwoman of like, it's okay if you have needs, it's okay if you have boundaries. And that's hard. I think with older generations of Black women, it can feel a little selfish of like, well, I didn't have that opportunity to take care of myself or do things for myself. I was responsible for other people. And how come you get to just
Mm.
walk away and do your own thing? I've seen that a lot in my work. Um, and yeah, the idea of self-care is just, it's interesting how when I've seen with like a young teen girl, it can feel like such a selfish thing, or it feels neglectful of other people. Like I should be able to give my whole self every day to everyone. And then that's my fear, is that they're going to turn into an older woman who's very resentful. And there's a lot of grief of what like she didn't get growing up, or not getting enough support. And that doesn't feel like that should be normalized to me anymore. It seems unfair, I think, because of, what Black women have gone through for so long. It's like, it doesn't make sense that we should still be responsible for everybody. It's a lot to do.
It's a lot to do. I mean, like you say, you're holding up whole, in the past, holding up whole households. That's a lot on
Hmm.
a Black woman's shoulders. So I could see there's a lot of intergenerational healing that needs to happen.
Hmm.
If you're a young Black girl, you're getting the messages maybe from your elders that you should be hyper independent. You should be that superwoman because that's what I did.
Hmm.
And why should it be any different? But yeah, it's hard. You're trying to break that and say, no, it's okay to self care. It's okay to have those soft pockets of your life. It's okay to take care of yourself for a little while. That I imagine is a really tough cycle to break.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a really
Really
tough
tough
cycle to break.
because it's not easy to live as a Black person in this climate.
Yeah, yeah, and that that's I think when I was younger, that was like the fear that if I was soft and sensitive, I was just so breakable
Right.
that my environment in America was just gonna pull me in half, because I wasn't tough enough to be able to get through all these different racist, misogynistic environments. And I realized that wasn't true.
Hmm.
At first, I internalized it of like, oh, I need to be the superwoman so I can handle all of this pressure. But as I got older and I had my own therapy, I realized like, wait, I can actually like walk away from that. I don't, if that's not something I want to be a part of, is this cycle, I can create something else for myself. And that for a long time didn't feel like an option of like, well, this is the way it's always been, so you have to be this way.
Right.
And then it was like, but I don't want to keep going in this direction if it doesn't make me feel good. And there's risk to going off and doing your own thing and not following what other people have done.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just also liberating. It's like, wait, I don't have to be this superwoman if this is exhausting. I don't want to be exhausted anymore.
Yeah. Right. You can actually be a human.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. You
Which
said
I
that.
mean, a
Yeah.
superwoman is not human. Like
No.
it's like a made up character.
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute, yeah, like what? A super person doesn't usually have needs. Like they're just taking
Right.
care of everybody else.
Exactly. And even those, Black elder women, they had to rest sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Th- I mean, because you're saying they are human. Maybe they didn't show it or ask for help, but I'm sure needed it as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. Which when I think, I guess growing up observing it, I would always see Black women napping, that was like,
Yeah.
it was in these like small moments where I would see like sometimes my mom would just go take a nap. That's something that
Yeah.
she's always done since I was a kid. But it was in that. It was like in between this really hectic schedule with all these different responsibilities. Oh, let me just take a nap.
Yeah.
And I think there is I don't think she's a therapist, but like someone who has something called the nap ministry who
I was just
just,
thinking of her. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot her name, but this Black woman who embraces napping. Like it
Mm-hmm.
is a form of rest, and it's an ancestral form of rest. And I mean, from what I've read and what I know, Black women have been doing that for so long. Like throughout a very hectic and exhausting day, you find a time to nap.
Yeah.
And I do that now, actually, when I think about it. Like, I love naps, but for a long time, I thought napping was lazy. Like, no,
Right.
like, you're not supposed to nap. You're supposed to keep going until you go to bed.
Mm-hmm. No, there's wisdom in napping.
Yeah. It's a restart. It's a great restart.
It's an amazing restart.
Hmm.
And just to see that, these really strong women are also embracing naps, it's like, oh, yes, we need breaks, right? We need rest. We need to slow down. And maybe that was their acceptable version of it. That now you're like, well, let's expand that even further. Um, as we start to get near the end here, I'm wondering if there's a message that you'd want to leave with sensitive girls of color who are maybe struggling with getting stuck in that superwoman syndrome or stuck in perfectionism or wanting to take up more space for themselves. Is there a message that you could leave them with?
I think I would love to say you are going to disappoint people, but that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong or that what you want is inappropriate. It could mean that you're going on a path that other people don't agree with or maybe don't feel is important to them. But what to me real strength is saying, well, if it feels right to me, then I'm going to keep pursuing that. And it's also inspiring to see someone who is not so concerned about what other people want for them or need for them, but puts themselves first and say, if I want to be happy, embodied, and just loving, that this is the path that works the best for me. And that's how I can be the best version of myself. I've always found that in Black people,
Yeah.
just so beautiful and so inspiring that it's like you do what feels right to you. That's really powerful.
Yeah, trust yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to lean into those pockets of softness and that support and doing things differently. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
It's
healing there.
needed.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's needed. Hmm.
hmm. Well, Noni, I just want to thank you so much. I feel like we could talk for hours.
I know. Like I'm on a roll. I could keep
I know.
talking.
I'm sad that we're out of time.
Mhm.
There's so much more to say. Um, and I just want to remind folks that you do have a lot of resources available on your Instagram, your website. You mentioned that you offer groups. So if folks want to maybe get in touch with you for a future group, how could they do that?
Well, my Instagram handle is at Afro and Appetite. And if they would like to reach out about group work, you can email me at my professional email, which is noni@rootsarttherapy.nyc.
Great. And I'll put that in the show notes for folks as well. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, April.